Hi there, my name is Isabel Vallely, and I'm one of the managers of the George Ho EarlyON Child and Family Center. I'd like to welcome you to the newest edition of videos that the EarlyON team has created. This is the third video of our parenting video series on the importance of self-care, with Joyce Fulton hosting. Joyce Fulton is a child and youth counselor who has been with the George Ho Center in a variety of positions for almost 30 years. She has worked with a very diverse clientele over this time in a number of our programs and brings with her many years of clinical experience. She is currently an Every Child Belongs resource consultant, providing individual consultation for specific children, program consultation, and trainings for childcare centers and community partners. She has done a considerable amount of training in the community on a variety of topics and has taught in various programs at community colleges. She has a passion for working with children with the most challenging of behaviors and believes in helping to build the capacity of parents, staff, and caregivers to facilitate the success of the children in their care. We hope you enjoy this video and are able to take a small piece away with you and incorporate it into your life. Thank you.
Thanks, Isabel, for a lovely introduction. I'm going to chat about self-care today. I think it's a really important topic that often gets overlooked. I just want to clear something up right from the get-go. Self-care isn't the same as being selfish. Self-care means taking care of yourself so that you can do all the things that you want to do in a day without feeling overwhelmed. And it's the without feeling overwhelmed part that's the most important. You can't pour from an empty cup. And self-care helps you to fill up your own cup. And that, in turn, allows you to help fill up the cup of others in your life that you love. So why is it important? The science is clear. Self-care routines are clinically proven to reduce and eliminate anxiety, stress, depression. It improves concentration, it minimizes frustration, it improves energy. There's lots of good reasons to do it. It's worth the effort. You're worth the effort. There's lots of opinions on how many different areas of self-care there are, really, that we should be focusing on every single day. The general consensus is 8 different areas, and so I'm going to run through those relatively quickly. The first one is physical self-care, and this is the one that generally people are the most familiar with. Movement, health, nutrition, good sleep, those are all examples of physical self-care. Personal self-care is a little bit different, and it includes things like learning new things, practicing mindfulness, being creative, arts and hobbies, reading a book, things that we enjoy that fill our cup. Emotional self-care includes things like navigating emotions, enhancing emotional literacy. And so those things could be things like learning how to say no, taking time to reflect on your own emotions, being kind to yourself, being aware of your own needs and getting them met. Social self-care is having supportive relationships and a good network of people that you can turn to when you need to. Following through with commitments to people, asking for help when you need it, meeting new people, spending time with family and friends, those are all things that add to our social self-care. Professional self-care is sharing our strengths and gifts at work, having clear boundaries, being able to say no, eating a nourishing lunch every day, maybe going for a walk at lunch, having clear boundaries, attending professional development. Those are all things that will fill our cups at work and make us feel good at work. Another area is environmental self-care, and this is having an organized and well-maintained space, both at work and at home. So these could be things like decluttering your space, cleaning up right after dinner as opposed to leaving the dishes all over the place, having clean clothes, not letting the laundry pile up, those kinds of things. Spiritual self-care is having beliefs and values that are important to you and that help guide your life. And so some examples of spiritual self-care might be things like meditation and prayer, reflections in a journal, going on a retreat, going for a long walk in nature, those kinds of things. The last area is financial self-care. And this is really about being responsible with your finances, having a conscious relationship with money, knowing where your income comes from, knowing when your bills need to be paid and paying them, spending and saving money wisely, all of those kinds of things. Self-care isn't easy. I think we as parents and caregivers are terrific at taking care of other people. Not typically so great at taking care of ourselves. I use the analogy of the empty cup at the beginning. I cannot stress this enough. When we let ourselves get run down and don't carve out time for ourselves and our own needs, everything else in our life suffers. We have less time, patience, energy, we're irritable, we get angry quicker. We have to find the time to look after ourselves, regardless of how busy our schedule is. You'll be glad you did. And so will everyone else in your family and around you. I want to run through 10 tips to help protect your own mental health, which in turn will help protect your children's as well. The first one is accepting uncertainty. And I know that this is a tough one. It's a tough one for a lot of people. But reducing the need for certainty also reduces the need for worry. Worry just creates the illusion of certainty, right? We think it helps prepare for the worst case scenario. But certainty is an impossible thing to achieve in life, and worrying only gives us a fake sense of control. So if we can let that go, that would be very helpful. Structure and routine, obvious one, but cannot be underestimated, the impact and the value. Having a predictable structure to your day, scheduling your week, it helps motivate us, it helps prepare us. Setting the boundaries between work and home time is also super important. We want to make sure that the structure and routine is predictable. The more predictable it is, the more inclined we are to stick to it and know what comes next. Staying physically active is another big one. The less time spent sitting, the better. And that can be anything like getting up and going for a walk. If you're in meetings all day, getting up, walking at lunchtime, moving around, all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that you have to implement this big running routine or any of that kind of stuff. Do some gardening, putter around, do things you enjoy, but just try and be as active as possible throughout the course of your day, every day. Eating healthy and hydration, another big one. Nutrition is huge. Hydration is really, really big. Dehydration really quickly affects the way that we think and feel. Drinking water keeps your brain from having to struggle against the effects of dehydration, which can result in high stress levels. If you're feeling super stressed and you have a big bottle of water, it can sometimes alleviate it immediately. And those aren't things that we often think about, right? Sometimes we need a little bit of sugar. Sometimes we need something we need to boost, and it helps our mood. It helps our frame of mind completely. Normalizing stress is another big one. Feelings of distress are completely a typical response to challenging life events, right? Like anxiety is a completely typical response to uncertainty. Sadness is a typical response to loss. Anger is a typical response to injustice. We all have these feelings. It's how we manage them and how we stay in touch with them and how we deal with them that's important. If we can allow ourselves to feel them, talk about them, normalize them, not only is that good for us, but it's also really, really good for our children because we're modeling how to manage all of those emotions in healthy, productive ways. Very often you hear people say, oh, don't cry. Oh, don't be sad. It's okay to be sad. And so we can come at that from a very different way and say, wow, you're really sad right now. That's hard. And just sit with that and be okay with that. It's okay. It's fine to be sad. But that's tough for us as parents to do because we want to make the sadness go away and we want to make things feel better. So normalizing all of those feelings is very, very helpful, not only for us, but for the little people in our lives. Maintaining social connections, again, super important. We want to stay connected with family and friends. We want to visit, go for walks, chat, do all of those things. It helps re-energize us. Limiting exposure to constant negative news and social media is also another one. That stuff can suck the life out of us sometimes, right? Like there is literally an avalanche all day long of negativity coming at us from all directions all the time. So if we can limit our exposure to that intentionally, it will help our mental health dramatically. We respond to that stuff with anxiety, with fear, with anger. Limit it if you can. Scheduling pleasant events, another really important one, proactively. It doesn't have to be a big all-day affair or a huge family vacation, but just having something to look forward to in the morning. If you're dropping off your little one at school, maybe you make a plan to go after school to the park and pick some flowers or whatever it is, so that you both have something to look forward to at the end of the day. Just scheduling it in proactively. It gives us things to look forward to. It's important. Attempting to manage stress and anxiety is another big one. The more that we can reduce the physical symptoms of stress, it improves the way that we think. And when we improve the way that we think, that improves the way that we feel. And when we improve the way that we feel, that improves the way that we act. It's all completely connected. So, breathing techniques, taking those deep breaths, going for a walk, refocusing yourself, all of those kinds of things are very, very helpful in managing day-to-day stress and anxiety. Being kind to yourself and others. I think we listen to that voice in our heads all the time. Try and make that voice be as kind as possible. We have to have realistic expectations of ourselves, and it's good to push ourselves in some areas, but it's not good to push ourselves all day, every day, to the point of complete and utter exhaustion where we don't have anything left to give at the end of the day. So be kind to yourself. You're worth it. Your family's worth it. I know that I ran through all that very quick and it was a lot of information. I think that they're going to attach slides and a slide with resources. Check out the resources. I hope you found it helpful. And again, the analogy of you can't pour from an empty cup, that's really what I want you to be left with, is that it's so important for you to fill your cup.
Thank you so much, Joyce. I felt like I was sitting with you enjoying a fireside chat. I so appreciate the reminders about how important self-care is and that it isn't selfish. How can you take care of the little ones in your life, or the rest of your family for that matter, if you aren't taking care of yourself? I love the analogy of filling your own cup first. Just to recap, self-care does reduce things like stress, anxiety, and depression. It also improves energy, concentration, overall feelings of wellness, and minimizes feelings of frustration. Some of the ways that we practice self-care that are most important are getting a good night's sleep, staying connected with family and friends, eating well, setting clear boundaries both at work and personally, and focusing on doing activities that bring us joy. Your comments about limiting exposure to negative news and social media are worth another mention as well. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today about the importance of finding time to practice self-care. Although it isn't easy for all, it is definitely critical on a day-to-day basis. If you would like more information on self-care, please do not hesitate to reach out to Joyce or any member of the team at the George Hall EarlyON. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed this video.